In this presentation, we are going to review the different theories of learning and their contributors. In first place, we have behaviorism. Behaviorism is a theory of learning based on the idea that all observable behaviors are acquired through conditioning, and this occurs through interaction with the environment. For this theory are two important behaviorists. The first one called Ivan Pavlov, a Russian physiologist who performed to classical conditioning, and the second one called Boris Skinner, who performed the operant conditioning. Pavlov's classical conditioning involves associating an involuntary response and stimulus through repetition, while Skinner's operant conditioning is about associating a voluntary behavior and a consequence through the reinforcement, either rewards or punishments. An example of classical conditioning is when the bell rings in a school and students know they must go back to their classrooms. And an example of operant conditioning is when students are rewarded with parental approval in the form of gifts or celebrations, and this positive reinforcement will be associated with the study effort and will promote increasingly better grades. And now we have the cognitivism. This theory focuses on the mental processes such as thinking, knowing, memory, and problem solving, and how the information is received, organized, stored, and retrieved by the mind. Also, it uses the mind as an information processor, like a computer. In this view, learners are actively involved in the way they perceive, process, and learn the information to solve problems and direct their attention to one stimulus rather than another. According to this, learning is also the process of mental representations called symbols, in a meaningful and memorable way. Also, the cognitivist approach considers as main objectives of the school the learning to learn and teaching to think. The next theory is the constructivism. Constructivism is based on the idea that people actively construct or make their own knowledge, and that reality is determined by your experiences as a learner. And this is explained by Piaget, who argues that we make sense of those experiences at different stages of lives. And this is represented in the Piaget's 4 stages of development. Also, the psychologist Jerome Brunner suggests that learning is an active process, whereby students learn better by constructing new ideas and building new schemas based upon current and past knowledge. However, Brunner and Piaget, they were not the only ones who argued about this. The psychologist George Kelly also contributes that learning involves learners making their own sense of information or events, and these are actively involved in constructing their own personal understanding of things, and this understanding will be different for each people. And an example of this is when teachers create situations in which the students will question their own and each other's assumptions. Now we have the humanism. The humanistic approach engages social skills, feelings, intellect, artistic skills, and practical skills. It is to say, the inner world of the learner and more as part of their education. Also, the self-esteem, goals, and full autonomy are key learning elements in the humanistic learning theory. Humanism is an approach to education that believes that learning is viewed as a personal act to fulfill one's potential and gives relevance to the human freedom and dignity. And the central assumption of humanism is that people act with intentionality and values. And there are a few recognized theories whom contributed to this, and they are Erik Erikson, Abraham Maslow, and Carl Rogers. The first theorist suggests that every individual proceeds through 8 stages from birth to old age, each of which poses a particular kind of challenge or crisis. Also, he emphasized that environment played a major role in self-awareness, adjustment, human development, and identity. And each of Erikson's stages of psychosocial development focus on a central conflict. Then we have the American psychologist Abraham Maslow, most well known for Maslow's hierarchy of human needs, a theory of psychological health focusing on human needs culminating in self-actualization. As we can see, this hierarchy is separated in 2 kinds of needs, in deficiency needs and being needs. It is important to note that the satisfying of needs means that you can reach the next stage. And now we have Carl Rogers, who believed that humans have one basic motive, and that is the tendency to self-actualize, to fulfill one's potential and achieve the highest level we can. And that will grow to its full potential if the conditions are right. That means if the environment is good enough. And he also thinks that self-actualization occurs when a person's ideal self, it is to say, who they would like to be, is congruent with their actual behavior. In this case, the self-image. And for last, there is the social interactionist approach. This theory has an approach to educational psychology that brings together ideas from cognitive psychology and humanism. From this perspective, it is considered that people learn and make sense of the world around them through the interactions in which they participate from the moment they are born. There are two well-known psychologists that contributed to this, and they are Lev Vygotsky and Reuven Feuerstein. Vygotsky sees the human development as a socially mediated process in which children acquire their cultural values, beliefs, and problem-solving strategies through collaborative dialogues with more knowledgeable members of society. He argues that cognitive abilities are socially guided and constructed. As such, culture serves as a mediator for the formation and development of specific abilities such as learning, memory, attention, and problem-solving. On the other hand, Feuerstein's view of learning mediation refers to changes introduced in the interaction by a human mediator, a teacher, who selects, organizes, and plans to teach actions so that they are accessible to the recipient, in this case the student, favoring direct or autonomous learning. And an example of all of this is when we help children learn to ride a bicycle. First with training wheels, then as we hold the bicycle steady for them, and finally without any help, so that the child rides independently. So the mediator helps the child develop prerequisites that then make direct learning effective. And those were the different approaches of learning. I hope you like it and have a good day.